White privilege is something that we, and me particularly, typically don't have to think about if we don't want to. Being a white male, you can decide to just ignore this and never have to deal with it. However, that's not the solution. That's not something that should be encouraged. That's not something that students should be encouraged to do. And the only way to discourage that is to deal with it. So one person's article in particular was very important for this, and that was Peggy McIntosh, she wrote an article basically explaining that whites have a privilege that often goes unacknowledged and is not even thought about until we try to unpack it and deal with it. It's this unconscious idea, and basically, when it's shown to us, it causes great stress, and typically people try to just distance themselves. Now, that doesn't mean it goes away, it's still there, but everybody kind of has their own way of trying to escape from this or dealing with it. And the way for me, for the longest time, was sports. I could go watch sports and not have to think about any political idea, any white privilege, any racist ideas, anything. I could just watch and never think about it. However, that doesn't exist anymore, and that's a good thing. I don't think that that's a bad thing. Politics and sports are becoming more joined. Racist unpacking of white privilege and sports are becoming joined. That was the case in the 1960s with a lot of athletes protesting, and that's good, and it's coming back again today. However, especially in football, the sport that I enjoy just watching for no particular reason besides it's a good way for me to spend a Sunday and relax. However, that doesn't exist. The idea that athletes can protest or bring out their ideas in that forum respectfully, it's not there. The owners in football are all white old males, besides one. And every single one of them has this white privilege and kind of refuses to acknowledge it. McNair, the owner of the Houston Texans, basically at the end of September came out and made a comment saying about the protests that were going on, the inmates can't be running the prison, is what he said regarding his own players. And then Donald Trump came out and at a rally basically said to Colin Kaepernick that he was a son of a bitch. The only thing missing from that statement was the black son of a bitch. But, again, they can say that. And why are these black athletes being vilified for having a stance on something that is important and something that is becoming more obvious? Now, it's a pretty obvious answer, but still needs to be thrown out there. An example of somebody who has this white privilege in sports was Tom Brady. He is the best quarterback in the NFL and possibly of all time. However, he is extremely close friends with Donald Trump, and so was the Patriots owner, and they were often supporting him throughout Donald Trump's campaign. However, once it became clear that Donald Trump was very openly racist and saying things that were targeting members of Tom Brady's team, why was he never questioned about this? Or if he was able to skirt the issue and never actually bring it up. Now, again, that's a white privilege thing because any black athlete who had that idea or who had supported one side of an argument, it was all they were ever asked about. Colin Kaepernick has been blackballed from the NFL for having a stance. But Tom Brady can have a stance but is still able to play. Again, these are issues that do come up, and I think that sports can be a very important avenue for unpacking that white privilege. If it means that I do away with the old place that I used to go to just escape from everything, that is something I will gladly give up, and I think it is very important that we encourage others to do the same and encourage that sports become an avenue for dealing with these issues because so many people get involved and watch. And it's a very important place for those protests and that conversation to at least start. Now, within the classroom, you have to do the same. You have to encourage students to start questioning these things and bring them up. Be open and honest about it. Explain that, for me personally, I'm a white male. I won't have all the answers. I won't know what it's like to be coming from the other side, but I still think it's important to at least start those conversations.